Firstly, thank you, Nitesh, for giving me another chance to be a part of this webinar series. And thank you, Siddhi. I'm sure you must be introducing me in a very grand manner. So thank you so much. Now, the topic of today's webinar is legally illegal, a walkthrough the laws of gambling in India. So at the outset, I would like to say that this topic sounds interesting, but what we'll strictly be covering is the legislation part and the applicable case laws. However, alongside, I'll try to cover a few astounding figures and fun facts just to justify the topic a bit. So when we say gambling laws in India, let's just talk about the legislation first. So the legislation which governs the gambling law in India, or the lack of it, basically ties with the historical past of the gambling. Now let's talk about the existence of gambling. The gambling has been in existence since time immemorial. And if you see the monuments work of Mahabharata or even Ramayana, it talks about the widespread popularity of gambling. And this popularity was among both the commoners as well as the royal. So much so that some of the biggest decisions and the conflicts were resolved by a roll of the dice. So this is one thing, that the gambling was popular, it was already widespread popular. It's another thing that how it was perceived during that time and even in the current scenario. So if we see the way the gambling is being perceived, to my understanding, it is being frowned upon. It is being also considered to some extent as a sin. And while the critics of gambling also would like to address that the gambling is a reason for a lot of corruption, for the crime, and even money laundering. And then we have proponents of gambling. The proponents of gambling are hugely in favor of as far as the regulated gambling is concerned. And the reason this regulated gambling is important is because this regulated gambling can be a source of revenue for the state. In order to understand the money we are talking about, or the gambit we are talking about, let's consider the Goa. In 2013, Goa revenue, state revenue was more than 135 crores. So one can see the kind of money we are looking at. And not only it helps in the state revenue, there are other things which regulated gambling can provide. And one thing is that it can curb or it can limit the illegal source of gambling proceeds. So once you curb the illegal gambling proceeds, which is generally routed through this underground mafia and down and bookies, you can also somehow regulate the drug trafficking we are having today, or even the problem of terrorism, because all this money is being routed through an underworld. So this is one thing, that whether this legitimacy of gambling is okay or it is illegitimate, it's morally component or no, this is one thing. But this is very clear that majority of a population, or the considerable population, enjoys gambling and indulges into this activity. In fact, there's a study by International Center for Sports Security which says the betting market in India might worth rupees 130 billion US dollar. So the entire market we are looking at is 130 billion US dollar. And therefore, whatever our views are when it comes to gambling, it is a personal view, because there's a lot of money which we are talking about. And secondly, this money is being routed through under mafia world. And this money, at least for today, it's readily misused. So now, in order to explain this entire gambit of gambling, I prepared one PowerPoint presentation. And this PowerPoint presentation I've divided into 7 parts. So basically there are 7 subtopics. So I'll straight away start with the PPT which I prepared for you again. Now to begin with, I'll cover the definition of gambling. There are many definitions of gambling which are available, but this one is to the point, and hence I have given it a separate slide altogether. I'll just read it out for you. Gambling in a nutshell is payment of a price for a chance to win a prize. So basically what you're paying is for a chance. And if you're lucky enough, you may even win. Now let's start with the slide. And the first slide, if you can see, I've divided the topics into 7 subtopics. The first topic which we'll be talking about today is gambling legal in India. Second is, why are there different state gambling laws in India? Third is central legislation, game of skill and game of chance. It's a separate topic. However, central legislation talk about this game of skill and game of chance as an exclusion. Hence, I have merged these 2 topics. Fourth, various state legislation. Fifth, online gambling. Sixth, entities regulate what type of gambling. And 7th, payment gateway and forex. Now let's move to our first topic, which talks about is gambling legal in India. So as far as India's scenario is concerned, like I said, gambling is being frowned upon, and for rightly so, because of certain reasons, and therefore it is heavily restricted for selective categories. And our government outlook as far as the selective categories is concerned, it remains in a gray area. For example, if we see horse racing, in India, horse racing is allowed, it's legal. Whereas similarly, when it comes to sports betting, like cricket betting and all, that is prohibited. Another example, what we can discuss right now is rummy. In rummy, it has been stated by the court that this requires certain skill. Like one has to understand that when you want to play and when you want to fold your cards. And therefore, it is not merely a chance you're playing upon, you are playing upon your skill, and therefore it is allowed, it is legal in India. However, it is also subject to the state legislation, which we'll come to later. And at the same time, if we see poker, poker also requires a similar set of skills. Like one has to see when you want to continue, when you want to pack. And there is additional requirement when it comes to poker that you have to also see whether the other side is faking. Despite the fact that the skill set required is on a higher side, then too, when it comes to Indian courts, they have stated that the poker is a game of chance and therefore prohibited, and it will fall within the definition of gambling. And therefore, we say the gambling, as far as gambling definition in India is concerned, especially when it comes to games which are more dependent on skills, it's more or less in a gray area, and it's actually very confusing. And it will be more confusing once I cover this entire webinar. The case law which I'll be discussing is State of Bombay versus RMD, 1957. It's a very old case law. In this, the apex court has decided that as far as Article 19(1)(g) is concerned, which allows you the right of occupation and intercourse throughout the India, that article is not attracted when it comes to gambling. Because ultimately gambling cannot enjoy the same stature as other works are concerned. Moving forward, another topic is why there are different state gambling laws in India. The reason being that the gambling falls under List 2, Entry 34 of 7 Schedule. That means that states are allowed to legislate, to form their own legislation when it comes to gambling and betting. And therefore, states could legalize gambling should they choose to do so. Now, with the country as diverse as India, there are 29 separate states, and then there are union territories. So one can imagine the kind of variance and the kind of conflicting laws we have when it comes to gambling. And therefore, I stated that gambling laws are very much confusing and they're very much ambiguous. And there are many games which even today are in a gray area. And as far as casinos are concerned, which is a part of gambling, there are 3 states which have allowed. One is Goa, of course, we all know that. And second is Daman and Sikkim. As far as Goa is concerned, there are 10 casinos. And Daman is 2 and Daman is 1 and Sikkim is 2. Now, despite the fact that under 7 schedules, the state can legislate their own gambling laws, we do have central legislation. In fact, there are 2 central legislations. One is the Public Gambling Act 1867 and the other one is the Lottery Act. First, we'll talk about the Public Gambling Act 1867. If you see, this is 1867, that means this law was enforced by Britishers. And in fact, before that, before this law came into picture, there were no restrictions altogether. So to some extent, those were the happy days because gamblers could play without any restrictions. But then this parties would come to an abrupt end in 1867 when Britishers outlawed all form of gambling except the gambling which is based on your game of skills. So this 145-year-old law makes operating a gambling house, assisting, I've already highlighted these keywords. So it is operating a gambling house, assisting in the operation of a gambling house, visiting a gambling house, financing gambling, and being in possession of gambling device. So if one of these key ingredients are attracted, then you are guilty under Public Gambling Act, and then you can be penalized. Now, if we see the last point, let's see the penalty amount. The penalty for breaking this law is a fine of 200 rupee or imprisonment of up to 3 months. Additionally, this act prohibits visiting gambling houses, a fine of 100 rupee or imprisonment up to 1 month. Although this is not deterring enough because this is 1867 law and they're yet to revise it. But please keep in mind that this 200 rupee fine won't help you to get away, because the police do use this law plus the concerned state law to extort people who are found gambling. Now, if we come to the third point of this slide, please understand that this act explicitly states, so the Public Gaming Act explicitly excludes, nothing is in this act shall apply to games of mere skill whenever played. So like I said, if there are games which are skill-based games like rummy or horse racing, though I don't understand the logic of it, but nevertheless, this is what legislation and the courts have opined till date. So if these games are betting are based on the skill set, that this won't cover under the gambling definition. Now the other central act, which is Central Lottery Regulation Act 1998. If we see the regulation is 1998, Lottery Regulation Act 1998, then there are rules which were formed in 2010. This 1998 Act gives state government authority to hold lottery, but it is only 1 draw per week. However, it has been seen that all across India, pan-India, except the states wherein the gambling, especially the lottery, is prohibited, they are having this lottery, in fact, every 15 minutes. And the reason they are not abiding by to this Central Lottery Regulation Act is because it is the case of the states that we are authorized under the Constitution to have our own legislation, a state legislation. So these central acts are not binding upon us. And therefore, if we see a state, Sikkim, in Sikkim, there is this very popular website. It's an online lottery website, which is Playwin Lotto. And in this popular website, this is operating throughout India. And you can actually bet, or you can actually take a part and number of times. There's no upper limit as such. So as far as this maximum of 1 draw per week limit is concerned, that is more or less ineffective. Importantly, lottery is banned in the state of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh. And there's this very original form of lottery, which is Sata Matka. That has been strictly forbidden, again, for the reasons unknown. Now, if we see the Public Act, there in this exclusion which talks about game of skills. There are certain decisions by the Honorable Supreme Court. These decisions I'll read out to understand what is the logic behind it. So first point, if we see, there are betting on horse race and then skill-based bettings and games and lottery. These are all excluded. Now let's come to the case law which is applicable in this case, and that is R.K. Lakshmanan versus State of Tamil Nadu. This is 1996 case law, which defines game of skill as one in which success depends principally upon the superior knowledge, training, attention, experience, and adroitness of the player. The court pointed out that a game of chance is one in which element of chance predominates over element of skill. And similarly, a game of skill is one in which the element of skill predominates over the element of chance. So while we are weighing what is game of skill, what is game of chance, one has to see what element really dominates. If the element is of element of chance and it is more or less luck-based game, then it is game of chance. If higher set of skills are required, or skill is the element which mainly dominates, then it is game of skill. There is another case law. This is also from state of Tamil Nadu. Interestingly, state of Tamil Nadu, all sort of gambling more or less are prohibited. But then if we see the approach of the court has been more or less progressive. So state of Tamil Nadu, this is 2005 case law. And it talks about the fact that as far as this game of skill is concerned, it has to be decided on case-to-case basis. So basically, there is no straitjacket formula. One has to assess and you decide on case-to-case basis. Now, like I said, that every state has its own legislation. Somebody has to mute. Somebody can please mute the audio.
और बताओ, आप अभी आज घर पे हो?
Siddhi, can you look into it?
घर पे हो अभी? अच्छा, आप क्या कह रहे थे?
I'll continue from here. State legislation. What I've done is I have covered 10 states.
यार मेरे को एक बात बताओ.
Somebody can please look into it.
10 मिनट लूंगी मैं आपके. ठीक है, चलो फिर मैं आपको पूरा
Siddhi, can you please look into it? I request everyone to mute your audio because it's really disturbing.
I think it's okay now, Tanu. You can start.
So we will be having अभी तो वेबिनार चल रहा है मेरा एक 12:30 से 1:30 बजे का होता है ना. एक बारी Tanu, can you hear us? Tanu, can you hear us? Tanu, can you hear us?
Nitish, I think there was somebody speaking and then there is some problem at the end of Tanu also. If you can mute everyone and...
I have already muted everyone.
Okay, okay.
Tanu, can you hear us?
Yeah, she's back.
Yeah, Tanu, can you hear us?
Right, I'm really sorry. There's no electricity now. I've just started the hotspot of my phone. It doesn't happen, but then there's a Murphy law. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. I think today is that day.
So, Tanu, can you continue now?
I'll continue. Right. So we are talking about the state legislation now. What I have done is I have tried to cover 10 states. And as I said, it's not possible to cover all these states, and we'll just try to see how each state has treated these gambling laws. The first state is Goa and Daman and Diu. The reason I merged these two is because there's a common act. And if we see until 1999, the land-based casinos were outlawed in all Indian states, and Goa was the first state to permit the casino gambling. And now the BEAR Act, which is applicable, is Goa, Daman and Diu Public Gambling Act 1976. And the definition which is applicable is 13A, which talks about authorized game. 13A1. Notwithstanding anything contained in this act, the government may authorize any game of electronic amusement, slot machines and five-star hotels, and such table games and gaming on board in vessels offshore as may be notified, subject to such conditions, including payment of such recurring and non-recurring fee as may be prescribed. So what it means is that if you just want to host slot games or games which are of electronic amusement, then you can have these games in the five-star hotels. But if there are table games, then it has to be offshore. Therefore, if we see, there are floating casinos in Goa which provides for these table games. But when it comes to five-star hotels, they can only go for games which are more or less slot games or electronic amusements. Now in 2012, there was this amendment. And as per this amendment, Goa Gaming Commission was the supervising authority. And if we see the regulating authority, that is Home Department. When it comes to Daman and Diu, like I said, the legislation is similar. The only thing one has to note is that in Daman and Diu, there is a casino named as Delton Daman Casino, and it is the biggest casino in the entire India. Coming to the second state, and that is Sikkim. Now, Sikkim is the second state which legalized gambling. And also Sikkim is the first state which legalized online gambling. Online gambling today is a very crucial topic, and it can be seen everywhere because internet is the fashion, is the order of the day. And therefore, there is this another subtopic which I have kept that is online. I'll discuss it later. So if we see the first regulation, that is Sikkim Casino Games Control and Tax Rules 2002. It grants license to individuals and business interested in operating casinos. And now there is amendment which happened in 2005, and government can authorize on certain days and to make specific gambling house legal at their own discretion. Sikkim Online Gambling Regulation Act 2008. This is very important because, like I said, Sikkim is the only state apart from Nagaland which has allowed online gambling. So this 2008 gambling was again amended in 2015, and I'll just read out the purpose of this 2015 amendment. It says the physical premises of the game parlors within geographical boundaries of the state of Sikkim through internet gambling terminals. So it just so happened, like we have already discussed, that apart from these states throughout India, gambling more or less is not allowed or it's prohibited. So initially, when they started the online gambling in 2008, there was no restriction that the gambling has to be only within the territory of Sikkim. However, that of course posed a lot of problem, and therefore they introduced 2015 amendment. And basis that amendment, if we see that only and only this internet gaming terminals are allowed, which are based in Sikkim. And then there is this 2009 regulation. If we see 2009 regulation, it has also included sports like cricket, football, chess, lawn tennis, horse racing, golf, and other forms of sports betting. So when it comes to Sikkim, even sports betting are allowed. But when it comes to other states, like I've already said, only betting on horse racing is allowed. And whereas every other form of betting, be it sports betting like cricket and all, it's completely strictly prohibited. Another state is Nagaland. Now, Nagaland, like I said, apart from Sikkim, only Nagaland has incorporated when it comes to games which are online games. And the regulation is Nagaland Prohibition of Gambling and Promotion and Regulation of Online Games of Skill Act 2016. And this act talks about the license holders and where all the gambling can be allowed. And again, this act does not restrict itself only to the territory of Nagaland. However, it only allows gambling wherein those particular states allow gambling. So this act allows operate it. So license holder under the act can operate from any state where in India where gambling is allowed. Sorry. And interestingly, Nagaland is the only state in which there is a regulation which says that online poker is a game of skill. And the licensing authority is the Finance Commissioner. Now we'll move to the south side, and the first state which we'll be covering is Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. The requisite act is Gaming Act 1974, and more or less even Andhra Pradesh, they frown upon gambling, and the only permitted gambling form which are allowed is lottery and rummy and horse racing. Telangana, the reason I've merged with Andhra is, like we all know, it has been recently separated. More or less all the acts which are today operating in Telangana are Andhra based. So it doesn't need any separate discussion. Another state is Karnataka. Karnataka is not a gambling friendly state. And since 2007, the state has been making several attempts to either limit or completely ban all form of gambling, including horse racing and lottery games. In fact, Karnataka has gone ahead and banned the single-digit lottery and multiple lottery system, and therefore PlayWin, which is a very, very famous website being operated by Sikkim government, it has stopped operations in Karnataka. The case law which I'll be discussing as far as Karnataka is concerned, Anantavisnu Swamy Iyer versus State of Karnataka 1982 and Kiran S versus State of Karnataka 2014. In both these case laws, Karnataka High Court has consistently viewed that game of rummy with cards is a game of skill. Another southern state which we'll talk about is Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, again, all the form of gambling are illegal. However, what is interesting is to note is there is another act which is called Tamil Nadu Prices Scheme Prohibition Act 1979. So this act, by virtue of this act, they have also prohibited distribution of prize. So what happened is that there was this one prize scheme which was promoted by Pepsi company, and throughout India, pan-India, everyone participated, but for people of Tamil Nadu, and therefore they could not participate in this 1 crore prize chance. So Tamil Nadu, if you see that it has gone ahead and also prohibited the prize distribution. And Uttar Pradesh, no form of gambling is illegal. However, there are many illegal outfits, which do operate in gambling day in, day out. Seventh state is Maharashtra. It has legalized lottery games horse betting and no other form of gambling is legal in the state. The applicable act is Bombay Wager Act, which prohibits online gambling. And while it prohibits online gambling, it is important to learn that Playwin is the only website which they have allowed to operate. Maharashtra, as we all know, that it hosts several sports events, including it has also hosted 3 World Cups, and it is also a ground of IPL team which has its own Mumbai Indian team. So despite the fact that it's sports, there are a lot of enthusiasts, sports enthusiasts, Maharashtra has not allowed sports betting. And therefore, again, there's a lot of illegal outfits which are day in, day out betting as far as sports betting are concerned. And there is PIL which was preferred before Bombay High Court. And based on that PIL, Bombay High Court has actually directed the government to enforce the Maharashtra Casino Control and Tax Act. It is important to understand this is 41-year-old law, which was passed in 1976, but it was never notified. So now, as far as this act is concerned, Bombay High Court has directed the government to notify it, but I don't think so any steps have been taken so far. Under this act, the law allows the licensing and taxing of casinos and presents a permitted casino games. The next state is West Bengal. As we all know, amusing things happen in West Bengal, no offense. So although they have allowed certain games of skills, but they allowed certain game of skill, at the same time, there are a lot of prohibitions. So if we see section 12 of the act, which is West Bengal Prize Competition and Gambling Act of 1957, this section 12 of the act first asks the licensee to obtain permission from the concerned district magistrate or the police commissioner. And this is not it. Once you obtain this license, you have to obtain another license, which is under Bengal Amusement Act 1922. And lastly, we'll talk about Delhi. As far as Delhi is concerned, the concerned regulation is Delhi Public Gambling Act 1955. It regulates gambling activities in Delhi. And it also provides a list of betting activities which won't form a part of the gambling. So there is exclusion list which we have been provided with. Now, since we have already covered the legislation, state legislation, as well as the central legislation, let's see how different forms of betting, casino activities are being treated. So, of course, it's not possible for us to cover all the variables because there are a lot of variations which are available in the market, but we'll pick few popular variations. First, as far as the betting is concerned, horse racing, like we have already covered, it is legalized. And the reason it is legalized is because it has been opined by the court that horse betting can be determined, that the knowledge and judgment required to assess and determine which horse would win should be considered a skill and not luck. So it says that, in order to understand, in order to assess that this particular horse is going to win, you require a lot of knowledge and understanding. And this judgment skill is this judgment requirement will come under the game of skill. There's this judgment which is available on horse racing, which I have shared. This is Dr. R.K. Lakshmanan versus State of Tamil Nadu. In this case, the Supreme Court has held that horse racing is a game of mere skills, as the betting in horse races are based on evaluation skills and various other factors like skill and management of the jockey. Second is sports betting and fantasy sports. Sports betting and fantasy sports, again, it is illegal and it is prohibited. So cricket betting and all, it's not allowed in India. However, there's a case which is pending before the Honorable Supreme Court, Geeta Rani versus Union of India, wherein this question is before the Supreme Court. And Sikkim is the only state which has allowed sports betting through its intranet gaming services. Now, we have already covered the betting part. Let's come to the gaming part. The first form of game, which is every now and then we have discussed, is Rummy. And these are the two case laws. First is State of Andhra Pradesh versus case Satyanarayana, 1968 case. wherein the Supreme Court has observed that Rummy, on the other hand, requires certain amount of skill because fall of the card has to be memorized, and building up of Rummy requires considerable skill in holding and discarding cards. We cannot therefore say that the game of Rummy is a game of entire chance. It is mainly and preponderance a game of skill. Now, following this case of Satya Narayana, many courts started opining that Rummy is a game of skill. However, if we see the last case which I have shared, this is the DJP, State of Tamil Nadu versus Mahalakshmi Cultural Association. In this case, two bench of Madras High Court opined that as far as Rummy is concerned, it will be a game of chance. So it kind of unsettled the settled position. However, luckily, when the association challenged this order of Madras High Court before the Supreme Court by preferring SLP, by the time the association was already found not guilty, and they ultimately withdrew their SLP. However, while withdrawing their SLP, the Supreme Court observed that as far as the observation of Madras High Court is concerned, these observations are not applicable. So as of now, where we stand today, case of Satya Narayana will be applicable and Rummy will be considered as game of skill. Next is poker. Poker, again, it looms in a gray area. Like I said, that state of Nagaland, it has recognized poker, even online poker, as a game of skill. But apart from Nagaland, more or less every state has turned their eyes away from poker, saying that this is game of chance and therefore it is a part of gambling and cannot be allowed. In fact, if we see the third point which I have shared, that there are some top management and technical institutions and universities like MIT, they even offer a full-fledged poker course as an academic course, because for them, when it comes to playing poker, this requires a high level of skill set, and therefore is a separate academic course. In fact, there are world championships which are being organized for the games like rummy, chess, poker, billiards, bridge. And the concerned association is the International Mind Sports Association. And it is a governing body for games like World Bridge Federation for contract bridge and International Federation of Poker for poker. And there is one case which I produced, which is Dominance Games Private Limited versus State of Gujarat. This is 2018 case. In this case, State of Gujarat has observed that poker is a game of chance and not game of skill, and therefore prohibited. However, the reason I would like to maintain my stand that poker is still in a gray area, because even the Gujarat High Court has only considered one form of poker, and that is Texas Hold'em poker. And there are other forms of poker as well. So for now, we can fairly assume that poker is a game of chance. It is prohibited in India, but tomorrow the court may take a different view. After poker, we will talk about casino gaming. As far as casino gaming is concerned, I don't think so there is any ambiguity. Casino gaming may generally include slot games and casino tables like roulette and blackjack games. As far as casino gaming is concerned, it is for sure, it comes under the definition of gambling, and only 3 states, Goa, Sikkim, Daman, they allow casino gambling and no other state. Now, online gambling, like I said, online gambling is very crucial given the scenario today. So Indian casinos, what one has to understand is that Indian casinos cannot have their website. They cannot have website in order to promote themselves online. However, this prohibition is not applicable on the websites which are operating outside India. So generally there are offshore companies which are regularly operating their website, and Indian players can participate on those websites. And there's only one requirement, and that requirement is the money which you basis on which you play, that has to be INR, and that's the only requirement. And even this requirement, there are times which this requirement is not met with, because there are options available like e-wallet, and there are other options like PayPal and all, and even cryptocurrency these days. So because of these available options, even this INR requirement is not met with. And the reason this online gambling, it has this kind of leeway or free hand is because if, like we have already seen the legislation, state legislation as well as the central legislation, and the advent of most of these legislation is before this online thing really started happening. It really started mushrooming. So I think more or less nobody could foresee that this can be the scenario, and therefore it is not covered. Apart from Sikkim and Nagaland, which I've already discussed. Now, this online gaming is a multi-billion-dollar industry, which is growing exponentially. And there are no checks and balances as far as online gaming is concerned. And the reason it is more worrisome is because if we see the demographic today, so that this younger generation who is shifting to online gambling. And again, even in online gambling, like the word gambling says, stakes are involved and sometimes even high stakes are involved. So for younger generation who are more vulnerable, it can be a cause of major concern. Now, offshore betting companies are using this loophole to lure Indians to bet on pretty much everything. And the IPL tops their list now, and some websites have even hooked to offshore betting agencies. So now, of course, there are Indian operators and Indian bookies, and they want that I want to take a part, and I want to even have pocket some money. So what they are doing is, of course, although they are not allowed to have their websites, they are not allowed to promote themselves. They are assuming a role of a bookie. So they have become a booker, and then they have this association with offshore companies which are not located in India. Their servers are not located in India. And one of the advisory website which is very popular is indiabet.com. And what I understand is this indiabet.com is operating in 200 companies. Importantly, this indiabet.com is a UK-based website. And the law which prohibits gambling is also imposed by Britishers. So what has happened is that UK has abolished that law. Even Pakistan has abolished that law, but India has continued with it. And taking advantage of such law, we have websites like Bet365 and online book and many online book markers. Now there is last case law which I have mentioned here, and this is Messer Gaussian Network Private Limited versus Miss Monica Lakhanpal. This is a Delhi District Court judgment, and it might not be binding on many courts. However, in this case, online gambling has been discussed extensively. In fact, I would like to read out from this case so that I am able to capture the exact content. The background of this case is that Miss Monica Lakhanpal wanted to invest in this company. This company, Network Private Limited, it's a startup. And Miss Monica Lakhanpal stated that I would like to invest 5 lakh rupees. However, there's a contingency. I want to know that what you're doing, that is online gaming, it's legal. So once this contingency is met, if the court opines that yes, it is legal, I'll invest the money. And there were many questions which were referred to the court. I'll deal with this question one by one. The first question was whether gaming of skill can be considered business activity and protected under 19(1)(g). As far as this question is concerned, yes, if it is game of skill, it is protected under 19(1)(g) and it will be considered as a business activity. However, importantly, in this case, court has stated that even if there are game of skill which are being played physically, it won't share the same parity as game of skills which are being played online. And there is a reasoning to that, and which I'll come to later. Another question which was discussed is whether the game of rummy, chess, golf, poker, bridge, and snooker are all games of skill. I've already discussed that rummy, chess, golf, bridge, and snooker, these are all game of skills. In fact, there are championships which are being organized. But when it comes to poker, apart from Nagaland, more or less each and every state has prohibited poker and defined it as a game of chance. Third question which was referred is whether wagering and betting on games of skill make the activity gambling. In this, the court has answered that sports betting is an offense in India, and bookies earning money from bets laid on games of skill cannot be granted protection under Article 19(1)(g). So while betting and playing for money among players on a game of golf, chess, bridge, and billiards may be permitted, they cannot be considered legal if operated by a gaming house. Such an online business activity would not be protected under Article 19(1)(g). Now, it is important to understand is what is a gaming house. So it's a premise wherein if you are playing any such any one of the games, suppose you are playing bridge, and this house or a room or whatever that premise is or in whatever form, it has a cut in your winning, or the house has a cut, then it will be assumed as a gambling house. Even if it's your own small, even if it's a small room wherein the person who's operating that room or the person who owns that room, if he has some sort of cut, no matter how negligible that cut is, on the winning, not on the fact that he has allowed you to use that premise. So it's a separate, that is a separate context. If he can partake a part of your winning, then it will be a gambling house. In fact, there is one case wherein the police raided the association. There was a club, and in that club, the members of the club were playing rummy, and there were counters, and also one can assume that money was involved. However, the court went through their book of accounts, and court said the kind of money they are charging is the money which you charge on the service. So if I'm providing you a certain service, like I'm allowing you to use my room, that's a service which I'm providing, and on that you can charge. So the club can charge that kind of money. But if a club will start taking a part of the winning amount or the profit or the proceed, then the club will partake a character of a gambling house. So there is a slight difference, and one has to be very careful. Fourth question is whether there can be restrictions on advertising promoting the website offering the aforesaid game of skill. Again, answer is simple. If it's a game of skill, it doesn't fall within the definition of gambling, and of course you can promote it. But if it is not a game of skill and it is more or less depends on the chance and luck, then it is prohibited, and of course you can't advertise it. And fifth is, can the bank refuse to provide normal banking services to the website once it is determined that the company is conducting normal business activity? Now one has to also, this question can be answered only if one is mindful of the fact that whether it is legal or illegal. If it is an illegal activity, of course, banks cannot provide any service. And if it is a legal activity, of course, bank can very well go ahead. Now, from this judgment, there is one para which I wanted to read because it beautifully captures the issue with the online gambling. In this case, so there was a reference which was made to Mahalakshmi case, and it says that in real games, the games require more presence of mind. An argument can be made that if it is legal online, then it can be legal offline. There are websites which provide free online games, and that is legal. However, when it comes to offline games, the presence of mind required is higher, the skill set required is higher, and that cannot be treated at par with the online games. And therefore, in this case, as far as online games are concerned, the court held that these online games, which also involve money and stake, these online games will be prohibited and will more or less assume the character of gambling. Now, with this, we'll come to the last topic, and that is payment gateway and other applicable acts. So, the first act, which is Payment and Settlement Act 2007. Under this act, there is a lot of power which has been given to RBI. So RBI can regulate all forms of electronic payment, and it has full authority to instruct any bank to decline or refuse payments or deposits involving any particular payment processor, e-wallet, or clearinghouse. RBI has the right to make policies almost on demand for all things involving payment processing, and they have exercised this authority numerous times. And this is what caused the PayPal fiasco in India, and even NetTeller stopped issuing its NetTeller cards because of excessive involvement of the RBI. Second act, which can curb this online gaming activity and advertisement, is Information Technology Act 2000. As far as IT Act is concerned, it doesn't define gambling or betting. However, there is this amendment wherein the rules were not amendment. Under the ITI, the rules were introduced, 2011 rule, and under this rule, there is prohibition of any website which hosts the content which relate or encourage money laundering or gambling. And when it comes to the Ministry of Information and Technology has the jurisdiction to act under ITI, and the applicable sections are section 67 and 69. Now, Foreign Exchange Management Act. The reason FEMA is important is only because of online gaming. Like I said, online gaming, you can, as far as offshore companies are concerned, there is no law which regulate them, and there are no checks and balances. So they kind of have this leeway here in India. And there are many websites which are operating in India, and a considerable population is taking part in this website. So there's this lot of Forex which is leaving India, and RBI is not even aware of it. If we see FEMA, there are provisions which are applicable. However, more or less, it has been ineffective. So it is illegal. One has to understand that it is illegal to fund online gambling sites without using rupee. This I've already covered as the currency. So if you place a bet online, it has to be in rupee and not in any other currency. And gambling and betting includes casinos, etc., is a prohibited sector for FDI. And even foreign technology collaboration is prohibited for lottery business and gambling and betting activities. Still, there is a lot of proliferation of foreign websites due to lack of enforcement of existing law by RBI and Ministry of Information and Technology. Foreign websites such as Bet365 take payments in foreign currency and could lead to loss of forex reserves in violation of FEMA. Online gaming issues becoming worse with the rise of cryptocurrencies, because these cryptocurrencies are like a parallel economy and it is untraceable. Last is tax liabilities on casino income. So as far as casino income is concerned, even if it's illegal, it is taxable. You cannot get it recovered under the Contract Act, but it is taxable. States would like to continue when it comes to their revenue. So winning from gambling is covered under section 194B of Income Tax Act, and 30% is the taxable amount, along with the surcharge of 10%. And also there are no deductions and exemptions which are available when it comes to casino income. And if you have this winning is outside India, this casino winning amount you have earned outside India, more or less, most of the countries, the host country will deduct the tax and thereafter it will give you the balance amount. However, it is important to know that once this amount reaches India, again it is taxable. So for a resident of India, his global income is taxable in India. So he'll be required to pay local tax apart from the tax which is already paid in the foreign company. And the way you can transfer this money is through the bank channel. Apart from the bank channel, you can carry the cash, but then there's an upper limit of 5,000 USD. And if you exceed that upper limit, you have to report to the custom. So that brings an end to the all the topics which I wanted to cover in this webinar. Now, if we see more or less, apart from couple of betting and couple of states, more or less gambling is prohibited in India. However, people of India do take part in gambling every now and then, and that too at a large portion. And certainly there were certain restrictions which were imposed by the Britishers. They never worked at that point in time, and they are not even working now. Gambling laws in India, they continue to be confusing and unclear. Although judiciary has time and again has come up with case law to clear the air, however, it's not sufficient, it's not clear. And the recent technology changes have thrown open the sector and have allowed the masses to participate in activities which lie in the borderline of gambling. These activities are yet to be scrutinized and tested in the court. And thus it is advisable, if you want to venture into any online gambling or any other form of gambling, you please take a sound legal advice, because to me, it's a slippery water. That is it for now. If there are any questions, we can take up the questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this informative session.
Thank you.
We have some questions from our viewers.
Right.
So the first question is by Tej sir. He's asking that what are the laws which are attracted in cricket gambling?
So
Cricket gambling.
Cricket gambling. So Nitesh, like I said, there are state legislations, and state legislations would be applicable. And if we see throughout, apart from Sikkim and Nagaland, apart from Sikkim, sports betting is prohibited. So cricket betting is prohibited, and the law which is applicable is the Central Act, Public Act, which I've already covered. And then there are certain state laws, state legislations, and even in under those laws, cricket betting is prohibited.
Thank you so much for the answer. So the next question is also by Nitesh sir. He's asking that is there some legal provision which are available to be invoked by the prosecution agencies?
Prosecution agency, apart from the particular state legislation, every suppose in Chennai, the case which I have discussed, there is Madras Act wherein the raiding agency invokes certain provisions, and gambling house will be a form of illegal outfit. So particular state provisions can be invoked by the prosecution agencies. That's it. Is there any other question?
Thank you, ma'am. I think that's all.
All right.
So, Shobhit, no, Priyanka, there is questions by Shobhit. Shobhit is send a chat to me.
One
Shobhit,
more, I think.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Shobhit.
Ma'am, how are you, ma'am? Can I ask you two or three questions, ma'am?
Please,
In
Shobhit,
respect
go
of your
ahead.
webinar, ma'am, in respect of your webinar, what I have learned, like horse betting, what you have said is legalized, if I'm not wrong, ma'am.
Right, it is legal.
Ma'am, so if somebody earns from something, like I don't know about the whole process of this. For example, if somebody has an income from horse betting, ma'am, so it will be taxable under 194B of Income Tax Act you has explained earlier in the webinar.
Right. It will be taxable.
So the certain amount will be taxable from the amount.
Right. So whatever is
whatever the amount is.
Right. So it will be 30% plus 10% surcharge.
Okay, ma'am. And ma'am, the second question is somebody like from this webinar, ma'am, but I've also learned that if somebody travels abroad, say supposedly to different countries, and place a bet and win a certain amount, then as per your ma'am, as per your webinar, ma'am, we have learned that there's a double tax treaty accordingly. What I have got it, ma'am, that person have to pay certain tax abroad, and then when he's coming to India, 30%, if I'm not wrong, ma'am, the 30% tax has to be.
Right.
If 30% tax, ma'am, on a very general member, what will be the basic? We don't know the laws of the certain other country. Maybe the tax percentage is higher than the other country, ma'am.
So one has to understand the way this gambling is being treated. It's not the fair amount which you have earned because of your hard work. It's like an easy money. It's free money, and therefore even nobody minds that if you are being doubly taxed. So whatever money which you have won from the host company, country, that host country will deduct its amount. And
whatever the taxes.
Whatever that amount, and now this 30 plus 10% will be applicable on the remaining amount, not the amount which you initially won. So whatever is in your hand.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. So when somebody travels abroad and wins certain amount, he should not be so happy because he's going to end up paying double tax.
Almost 50% will be gone.
Almost. And we have the third, like the cryptocurrency, ma'am, the third part, what we have learned from this. Ma'am, for last few years, we have heard, ma'am, I don't know about the cryptocurrencies much, but some Bitcoin is also there, ma'am. So
Bitcoin is a part of the cryptocurrency.
Can you if you don't mind, can you enlighten some experience
I'll try to, whatever although my understanding is limited when it comes to cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency is based on the blockchain. I said there is no central regulatory authority which look after the cryptocurrency. Like we have fiat money. When it comes to fiat money in India, INR, there is a sovereign promise. Sovereign is this money is being backed by a sovereign, that is Government of India. But cryptocurrency, there is no sovereign, and it doesn't enjoy the status of fiat money. However, in order to develop cryptocurrency, there's this word which they use, mining of currency. So
Okay,
there are this strong high developers and processors, and then they say that these processors and developers, there's a lot of input which is required in order to mint Bitcoin or other type of cryptocurrency, and that is
Okay,
the
ma'am.
value which this cryptocurrency assume.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank
the
you for
reason,
letting me answer the question.
right. So the reason it is untraceable is because you are not depending on any banking channels, and there is no banking
Okay,
channel via which this money is being processed through.
Okay,
So
ma'am. Thank you, sir.
therefore, it is
Thank you, ma'am.
untraceable. It's a part of parallel economy, right?
Yes, Priyanka.
So there are a couple more questions. One is by Advocate Zoya Mehta. She's asking that horse racing is dependent on the skill of the jockey and not
Right.
the person betting. So
Right.
what, according to you, is the basis of such legalizing the sport?
So although it depends on the jockey, but one has to, so I have to evaluate that how good that jockey is, and also I believe it also depends on the horse because he'll be running, right? So I have to evaluate and I have to see, and it also then that means it depends on my assessment skills, like whether how good my evaluation is. Like Satta market, like most of us, we do take part in Satta market, and we see, this company is rising, and this company, if we invest our money, we may lose. So more or less, it will share the same footing. That it depends on your evaluation skill, and therefore it is game of skill. But like I said, even sports betting, when it comes to crickets and all, one has to see the performance of the players, and based on the performance, one can bet. But then the court has not given it the same stature.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is by Archit Mittal, sir. He's asking that, is MPL legal?
It's a Maharashtra team. No, I have
No,
to.
it's mobile Premier League. It's a game where you play
No,
and
it's
you
not legal.
earn money.
It's not legal.
It's
Like
not
I've
legal.
already, no, it's not legal. Like I've already covered. Online gaming, even if it's a game of skill, it's illegal. So game of skill, if you play physically, it's legal, right? But if when it comes to online, that becomes illegal because it doesn't require same skill set.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering all the questions with so much patience.
Thank you
I
so
think
much.
that's
And
all.
Tanu,
thank you,
over in
everyone.
over in adding one suggestion to this gambling, which I have learned from you. I haven't went so deep in this topic at all. Only listened so many gambling bettings happening around.
My only
if at
limited
all-
experience is with slot machines. So that's
if
it.
at all, it's a suggestion. If at all it's legalized in India, won't you think it would be a huge source of revenue for Indian government?
It will
Since
certainly.
people are playing it at the back doors. People are playing offshore, as you have said. Companies are being operated through the out channels, outsources. Bettings are there every now and here, and IPL, everybody knows what
Right,
IPL
right.
who's at the back of it. So considering all these factors, there is this only it's a topic which has been taken up today. So it's my personal feeling that if Indian government allows it, legalize it, it would be a huge source of income for the government and the state governments.
Right. See, ultimately, one
Exactly, sir.
Indian government, state government, especially, they kind of ethos, what people's sentiments are. Like while I was preparing for this topic in 2005, UP government decided to start with casinos near Taj Mahal. And the reason for that was because UP government realized that neighboring states are planning to start casinos. So in order to ensure that traffic, that their tourism traffic is maintained, they decided that alongside Taj Mahal will have this casino. And the moment the neighboring states they decided not to continue, even UP government they dropped the plan. So I don't think so. They have a lot of issues when it comes to legalization of gambling. Somehow they are just scared to take that step because ultimately they don't want to risk the people's sentiments. You don't know in which way people are going to perceive it. So they don't want to run that risk.
We go back to history. We see in the Mahabharata, the whole Mahabharata, happened on a chatur and poker. So it was legalized at that time of point, that point of time also. So considering our history, the Indian government should realize as the stage has now come, COVID has led you in such a stage where you are off with the resources. And
Right.
this is the right time that you can start.
Yeah, it's better than, better than imposing 70% tax on liquor,
Yes, ma'am.
Definitely.
right?
Ma'am,
And
I have
If it's
received
all
one
about
more
revenue.
question.
exactly, ma'am. Exactly, sir.
Yeah, Priyanka?
I've received one more question by Abhinav Kalia sir. He's asking that isn't it a bit irrational, as in poker or rummy or teen patti or other card games require much more skill as compared to horse racing, but still card games are illegal.
No,
Kindly
but I'll just clarify. Not all card games are illegal. Like I said, rummy is legal. But poker, teen patti, bridge, all other games are illegal. But rummy is legal. And yes, it is irrational.
Tambola?
I mean,
Tambola.
Sorry, that was my. I was about to ask.
Tambola is purely chance, nothing else.
yes.
So, but Tambola is being played at very huge level, and Tambola is like, is there in the events, is there, in the fests, in the schools,
played.
and where the tickets are being charged also.
Right.
So very expensive tickets, sir. Sometimes it's very expensive also. Tickets.
I have went to Delhi and District Cricket Association and participated many a times in that Tambola. So
I think Tambola people still perceive it as a recreational activity rather
paying
than
money?
gambling.
By
No, it is
paying
with
money
money.
and a
It is
matter of
with money.
chance.
And generally the money is on a very lower side. Like a ticket would be of 50 rupees or 100 rupees.
I got
Right.
it. Even if it is of 100, 200, I don't think it's like, that gambling wala stuff involved in it. So
Huh.
therefore, we Indians take it as a game only.
It is a recreational thing. Like, people come together and, they play it for fun. And although it will fall under the definition of gambling only. If tomorrow the police will raid our house and we are found playing Tambola, they can very well take us in custody.
I think
Exactly.
culture
Is it?
overrides the rule and the laws.
Completely.
Another important and interesting fact which came to me during this COVID is like, those ladies who were involved in the kitties earlier now have started playing Tambola on the Zoom by having money through Paytm.
I hope this there is no evidence which will be collected against me because even I'm guilty of that. So there's this Tambola online wherein they'll generate the number. And there is a number generator and everyone will collect the tickets and sitting at home they'll strike off the number. Okay, this is my number. And they're like, okay, I won the full house. So yes, things are happening.
I now realize, how important and interesting topic this was. As Tanu suggested me yesterday that I'll only take 30-35 minutes, and it's almost more than an hour. And she said it was a very small topic. Topic is never is small. Discussions are always open on the board.
Right.
So with this line, I request Zoya Mehta to kindly give a thanking note to our speaker.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Hi. So I think Nitesh sir has already mentioned how interesting this topic was, and actually, I personally really got hooked onto the topic the moment I heard that the oxymoron nature of the topic, legally illegal. So let me come on to the formal thanking note. So I thank you, Advocate Tanupriya Gupta, for taking out your valuable time and enlightening us on such an interesting topic. And I was also curious to understand gambling laws, because in the news we hear cricket, horse racing, all these friendly games that we play at home also. And my knowledge was quite limited to just going and playing these. And I think this knowledge which Advocate Tanupriya has imparted it's not only good for lawyers, but it's good for everyone in general. So I also thank Advocate Nitesh Mehra sir for providing that platform to take up such interesting topics, which keep our fraternity hooked onto these webinars and learn about new areas of law and their application as well. Our participants are a great source of motivation, and I really thank them for actively participating in today's webinar. And I once again thank you all, and bye-bye till we meet again.
Thank you, Zoya. Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanupriya, for giving your time from the busy schedule, and thank you to Shobit. With this, we conclude with the today's webinar. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.